Hey guys, it's Odaima here, and we've got some pretty crazy news today. Raegen is finally coming to WOTV JP. It's coming out next week on Tuesday, and as you can see here, surprise surprise, he is an ICE unit, although I guess that maybe is not really a surprise to some of you guys, since this is a bit of a running gag in War Divisions actually. But as you can see here in his illustration, he's actually wielding both an ice blade as well as a fire blade. Now there seems to be a reason for that. We'll get into that a little bit later, but for now we're going to talk about the elephant in the room, which is that he is of course another cost 100 unit. In fact, he is the third cost 100 unit to be released in January 2023 for War Divisions JP, and overall the fourth double cost thing to have come out, because we did also have Dark Bahamut Vision card last week. So this is really insane. It's a long string of double cost things to have come out, and of course next week, or rather 2 weeks from now, we're going to have another cost 100 unit in the form of the Warriors of the Crystal and Our Story Part 2 unit release. So all in all, it's some really insane times even for the JP user base. For global players, brace yourself, because all of this stuff is coming out 4 months from now in May of 2023. Now we're going to talk about Raegen's abilities, but before that, actually I need to talk a little bit about my YouTube channel. As you can see, we're almost at the 1,000 subscriber mark, you guys. Thank you so much for everybody who subscribed so far. If you're new to the channel, I make War Divisions JP content, as well as some stuff related or covering War Divisions global versions sometimes as well. Next week is actually going to be the Lunar New Year festival break. For a lot of us, including myself, so I plan to stream quite a bit, and of course later this month we are expecting the new single player content for War Divisions JP, so I'm gonna make some content with regards to that. You don't want to miss that out, so please subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, and yeah, help me get to the 1,000 subscriber mark. Alright, with that we're gonna with that out of the way, we're gonna go back to talking about Raegen. Now for that, I'm going to go into the window here that I've prepared, because it's easier to see things this way. So back to Raegen, he is a cost 100 unit, an ice unit with the sub-jobs of Monk and Night Blade. His main job is, I think, something related to War Divisions, some kind of night thing, so maybe somebody who knows more about the lore in War Divisions, no sorry, not War Divisions, but rather Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. If you're someone who's familiar with the lore and with Raegen, maybe you can let me know what this is supposed to be over in the FFBE. In any case, for his limit burst, this is called Chosoku Hachirento, which translates to Ultra Speed 8 consecutive slashes. Now they did put a disclaimer that this move, although it's something 8 slashes, it doesn't actually do 8 consecutive hits, so just to be aware of that. What it actually does is, after reducing the slash resistance on the target for 3 turns, this move will do 3 consecutive hits of damage L. So as you can see here, this is a single target move with range 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a range height of 1 and an area height of 0. So this is once again another one of those units with an interesting single target limit burst, which means that it's going to be lower AP than usual. This has kind of been the pattern for a lot of the new unit releases in War Divisions JP. The good thing about these kinds of single target limit bursts is that you're guaranteed to do a bunch of damage as an attacker, and a lot of them do have consecutive hits, so it's going to be quite useful. It's not going to use up all the AP for your unit. I'm quite excited to see how big of the difference this can make to, ice attackers. Moving on, the next move revealed for Raegen is another single target move. Once again, this is also a range 4 move with a range height of 1 and area height 0. And for this move, it's different from the limit burst in that it will actually first increase the defense penetration up for 3 turns for Raegen, and after that do 2 hits of consecutive, or rather 2 consecutive hits of damage M, as well as decrease the agility on the enemy target for 3 turns. So pretty interesting, but not sure if this is going to be that impactful. And then finally, the third move that's been unveiled for Raegen is the only AoE attack that's been unveiled so far. This is a cross-shape AoE move that will remove courage on all the targets in the AoE before doing 2 consecutive hits of fire damage M. And it also has a quite a heavy ice and wind killer modifier on the attack. So this is the reason why, or rather because Raegen is a character that uses ice and fire blades. Even though he is an ice unit in general, he does actually have some fire moves. And this is an interesting one because not only is it a fire based attack, but it also has ice killer and wind killer. So it's going to be really useful in beating the ice and wind meta, which is still quite strong in JP as of right now. So over here, as you can see, this is the disclaimer we talked about earlier. The limit burst doesn't actually do 8 hits despite the name. Moving on, his master ability, which is the final thing that's been revealed about Raegen. This master ability gives all allies, or rather all ice allies, maximum HP up 10%, as well as ice ability up plus 15. Now for Raegen himself, he gets slash and magic attack resistance plus 10, as well as reaction block rate plus 20. Overall, it seems like his master ability is a little bit on the it's not super OP or anything, right? It doesn't have the super defensive stuff, and it seems to be, one of those typical things that you find on an attacker. So we'll have to wait for his full kit to be out next Tuesday before we can tell how good of a unit he is. But I think a lot of people, well, he is a desirable unit in many cases, but I'm not too sure, after the long string of Cost Runner units, how many people are still going to go for him. So anyways, next week, next Tuesday, I will be making a video, or probably I will be streaming when the unit is released, so stay tuned for that. For now, we do have other news that we can cover, that we need to talk about. The most important thing is going to be the Another Story Part 2 Chapter 3 and Chapter 4 release. So all of that is coming out next Tuesday in JP as well. Interestingly, this time around they've chosen to release 2 chapters at once because we did miss Another Story Part 2 in November, December. So that's 2 months worth of Another Story content that we didn't have. So yeah, this time they're releasing 2 in a row. But what's interesting is if you look at the tags, maybe if I were to translate this, the most interesting part is that from Chapter 3 of Another Story Part 2, you actually can get a bunch of awakening, a bunch of wind, light, and darkness, awakening prisms, and fragment of thoughts. And then for Chapter 4, you actually can get a bunch of water, earth, and lightning awakening prisms and fragment of thoughts. So what's interesting about this is that I think they've kind of accidentally revealed what are the elements for the remaining units that are part of the Void in the Darkness and other Part 2 unit release series. So right now in the game we already have Prene, who is the Water Crystal Warrior, as well as Rurugia, who is Earth, of course. And on top of that, the third unit to be released was Liesel, who is a wind unit. So we still have 3 more units to go. And it seems like if you take out those units that I just talked about from the list of elements here, this means that the remaining units are going to be light, dark, as well as lightning. So most likely what this means, of course we do know that Rafu, she is the Dark Warrior of the Crystal, so there's no There's nothing surprising about that, but we do know that there are 2 more enemies in the Void in the Darkness series. One of them will be the lightning element, most likely based on this description here, and then the final boss for Another Story Part 2 is probably going to be light element as expected. So based on previous information, we were kind of able to guess that most likely the remaining enemies are going to be lightning and light element. But with this, we've pretty much more or less been able to confirm that the last 2 enemies, or rather the last 2 units coming out of the series, are going to be cost 100 light as well as cost 100 lightning. So there you go. Of course, for the exact confirmation, we do need to wait for the unit to come out first. But if you're someone who is a light user or lightning user, then you might want to factor that into your plans for pulling in the global version coming down the line. Alright, so that's Another Story out of the way. Next up, we're going to talk about the return of limited arena titles. This is coming back for 1 week on January 23 to 29, and this time is not actually tied to anything, I think, just because. So the previous time what happened was to celebrate the conclusion of the part 2 main story. They decided to do this limited arena title thing, and you had Jaden and Alaya and Oberon titles. This time around it's not tied to anything, and we have Wingstern, King Mont, Old O, as well as Seymour and the Leonis Girls titles. It's gonna be quite interesting. It seems like they've made an improvement to this arena thing, in that this time around there's going to be titles for anybody placing within the top 300. Previously it was only up to top 100, and the titles, they've changed it so that as long as you're anyone within the top 300 to place in the limited arena week, then you get a title with characters on it. Previously, I believe the top 100 title didn't actually feature any kind of unit. So it's going to be exciting for people who care about arena and limited titles. For me, I know that 4 months down the line, when this comes to global, I'll definitely be making an attempt at these titles for sure. By the way, the previous time I came in at number 8, so I was only able to score I believe the Lucia title. Unfortunately, I don't have my game open at the moment, so I can't show you guys that. But with that said, I'm sure a lot of you are not actually looking forward to these kind of things, but for people who do run arena, this is actually quite exciting that it's coming back, and that the program, or rather the campaign, is going to be improved so that as long as you're within top 300, you do get something quite interesting. For me, I think I'm going to try and go for the top 300 title in JP, but I'll have to wait and see if things get too crazy over there. And then of course anybody who participates is going to get this title, Winged Knight, and this is regardless of your placing, so at the very least everybody is going to get this limited title as long as you participate in the arena on that week. For the bonus units and vision cards, I think this is not hard-coded onto the site, so I'm going to change this to the translations. For the bonus units, of course, because this is taking place 1 week after Raegen has come out, so the 100% bonus rate units are going to be King Bradley, Wingstern, as well as Raegen. And then after that, at 75%, we have the rest of the FMA units, Roy Mustang. Actually just Roy Mustang, so Ann and L doesn't even get a bonus in this limited arena run. And then for the rest of the units, we have characters from the Leonis, and basically the units who are at the forefront of the story. I guess you can read this on your own, I suppose. The only one, so this is Resnick, this is Ural, and the rest is pretty much self-explanatory. This is O, by the way. And then Nasha, Phoebe, I don't know who this is. Oh, this is actually Little Leela. So Little Leela gets a 50% bonus, although this is going to be the SR version of the unit. And then for vision cards, the ones that have a 100% bonus rate in Arena for that week is going to be the free Fullmetal Alchemist Vision card. Those who bond with their brothers. I don't think that's the actual name, but that's the loose translation of it. And of course, Dark Bahamut, being the latest cost 90 Vision card release, is going to be a 100% bonus rate Vision card. And after that, we have Roy Mustang's Vision card, as well as all these older Vision cards over here. So yeah, I'm actually, for someone who plays Arena or not, I'm really excited for this, especially, you know, for when it's coming to global 4 months down the line. But let me know in the comments below what you think about these kinds of limited Arena title runs, if you're all for it or if you're against it, because, you know, I think everybody kind of understands the reason why they're doing this right now at a time when they're bombarding us with cost 100 units. It's of course because it's January in Japan, and usually that is the right after the period that everybody has gotten their bonuses from work, and so they're trying to I guess they're trying to, you know, get all of their hardcore players to, you know, spend a little more than usual. Alright, so other than that, for other news, let's see here. Of course, with Raegen's release, we do have a new weapon. For those of you who are FFB players, maybe you can let me know what this sword is supposed to be. But I believe this is going to be Raegen's weapon. We are not given any details as per usual, but we do know that it's coming out on the same day of Raegen, so we'll have to wait until the content is out before we can find out what this sword actually does. And then on top of that, for the rest of the news, we do have Class Match coming back next week, I believe. Class Match is... oh, there we go, I just missed it. We do have Season 3, the Grand Season 3 coming back next week in JP. The map, for those of you who care about it, the map is this map right here, and the rules for class matches this time is cost limited under cost 230 for all the units, as well as toad and disable nullify and area resistance plus 20. So I'm not sure how much I'm going to play class match next week, but maybe I'll stream some of it when it goes live. And I believe that's pretty much it for the important stuff this time. Let me just go through really quickly. This time, surprisingly, they did mention before that the Altar of Arms single-player content is going to come out sometime this month, and that there will be some upgrades to the game as well, but unfortunately we didn't get any news of that this time. So, looks like it's going to take a little bit longer. I think that's it. One last thing that they did mention is that the tallying for the survey, for the 4th year War Divisions survey that they did at the end of last year, they've finished doing that, so they should be sharing with us the results of this survey pretty soon in an official broadcast, so definitely look forward to that. I'll be once again doing my live translation stream for that once they have announced it, so I'll keep you guys posted on that. For now, I believe that's everything covered in this batch of news for War Divisions JP. What do you guys think? Raegen, cost 100 ice units, and another story seemingly confirming that the final 2 units in another story part 2 will be light and lightning. What do you guys think of all of that? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time in another video.